Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Digital Things, where we at Trinnex like to discuss common challenges faced by water and wastewater utilities and the digital solutions that can help address those challenges. I'm joined today by Trevor McProud, an environmental scientist at CDM Smith, and Aaron Englehart, a Trinnex product expert for LEDcast. Today, we'll be discussing the requirements and challenges around the school and childcare sampling requirements for the EPA's lead and copper rule. So I'm really glad to be joined by these two who will share their perspective on some of the common challenges and how technology can assist. So I've got a question for you, Trevor. I'll go ahead and ask you first. When we're thinking about these requirements, what are some of the main challenges that utilities could be facing as it relates to the school and childcare sampling requirements?
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, so the lead and copper rule improvements, the LCRI, has introduced sweeping requirements for water systems to address lead in water at schools and childcare facilities. And that's really a brand new requirement. And I think that's the biggest challenge on the face of it, is that this water systems have never really had to stand up programs like this where they're comprehensively sampling in facilities such as schools and childcares. So it's a complex new requirement to first identify many locations in their system that they serve, and then to develop and implement outreach processes for those facilities, and then to initiate the sampling at all of those locations. 20% per year is the minimum, collecting multiple samples at each of those facilities. So it's a complex sampling program, and it's a new requirement. And that's really a challenge for water systems to incorporate that into their current systems in many ways.
Great. Thanks, Trevor. I've got just a follow-up for you here. We hear a lot from the utilities we work with, questions on whether they need to follow these requirements, even if they have no lead in their system. What can you tell us about that, and how would you answer that question?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the short answer is all systems will need to do this. So whether a water system in their inventory has said no lead, or whether they have very few lead service lines, it doesn't really matter. All systems in all water systems across the country will have to complete this sampling program, and at the very minimum, start the outreach for schools and childcares in their systems, and likely have to do some amount of sampling at those facilities throughout the years following the compliance date.
Great. Thank you, Trevor. Aaron, I've got a couple questions for you on the technology side. So thinking about some of the complexities and challenges that Trevor was just speaking about, what can Trinnex do to help water systems tackle these challenges?
Yeah. So we have within LEDcast what we've called our school and daycare module. So this is a purpose-built module of our software aimed at tackling the challenges of this rule. It's 3 areas that we targeted. First is building that list of school and childcare facilities that are served and understanding their statuses, right? Are they open? Are they closed? When were they built? All of this is pertinent information to the rule. So we make it easy to track all of that data and all of the facilities served. Second, we have a tool built for tracking the communications with these facilities. Like Trevor mentioned, there's a lot of outbound communication that the utilities are going to be doing with the schools, a lot of mailing, probably a lot of support questions that are going to be asked. So we have a purpose-built tool that will allow utilities to log all of their communication events, right? If I sent a mailer out to these 10 schools, I can go ahead and add that into the tracker. I can show the PDF, I can add some notes, really make sure that I've got all those details captured so that whenever it comes time to defend what I've done, I have all that data right at my fingertips. And finally, we make it really easy to get the sampling kits out into the field, to the schools and to those facilities. So we have dropship sampling, where a utility can simply press a button and it'll send a kit right to the door of that facility. And in that kit, it's going to have the pertinent bottles, whether it's 2 bottles or 5 bottles for the school and daycare. And it will also have very detailed instructions on how to complete the sampling. So that way the utility can rest assured that staff at the schools have all the details they need to go ahead and collect an accurate sample.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. it's a really comprehensive answer there. So I've got one more question for both you guys. Aaron, maybe you could share your perspective first, but what's the single best piece of advice that you would share with a utility working on this aspect of their lead and copper rule program?
Yeah, I think it's just being very careful and cognizant of the amount of data that's encompassed in these programs. So building out that list of schools, doing all of the outreach to those schools, all of the sampling, all of those results and managing those, it's a lot of data. So utility needs to be very careful about how they're going to manage that to not only one, be compliant, but to be efficient also.
Great. Thanks, Aaron. Trevor, what are your thoughts? Your best piece of advice?
Yeah, I think really it's to be open to using new processes. I think like Aaron said, this sampling requirement will require a lot of data and a lot of new tracking metrics to consider. So while systems may have relied on simple spreadsheet type of processes for their compliance sampling and residential tap sampling, this program introduces many new layers of complexity and needs. And so relying on a process like Trinnex's LeadCast to put in those guardrails, to set the reminders, and to really guide you through the program, I think is really worth considering for water systems.
Great. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today for this episode of Digital Things, and thank you everybody for listening in.